Welcome back here today on the beautiful campus of Florida Panhandle Technical College. Another in our series of Meet the Candidates. With us today is Weston Spivey, currently running for County Commissioner District 1 in Geneva County, Alabama. When we come back, we're going to talk to Weston about why he became interested in politics, why he wants to run for office, and more importantly, this is an uplifting story. A young adult interested in what some may consider that murky world of politics who wants to do things for the right reason. You're going to be pleasantly surprised, as were we when we first met Weston. When we come back, we're going to talk about all this and more, and we will be right back. Welcome back. As mentioned, our guest today is Weston Spivey, currently running for County Commissioner District 1 in Geneva County, Alabama. You made the trip down to Chipley today. Thanks so much.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me. You know, I enjoy Chipley, Florida. I think a lot of the people here in Chipley, Florida, especially you guys, and it's exciting to be here.
Interestingly, we have a friend in common and somebody with whom you already do business here in Chipley, Paul Davidson at Main Street Market. You actually market your buffalo meat, your bison, through Paul's store. We've been doing Paul's marketing for quite some time. Knew he had taken on buffalo. At the same time, had met you up at the Slocum Tomato Festival. You told me you raised buffalo, never put the two together. And as luck would have it, as happenstance worked out, that relationship bore fruition because we met you and found out more about you. Last week we had the opportunity to take a tour of your Green Acres farm, got some up close and personal views of your North American bison, talked about Green Acres Farm and your business acumen in Geneva County. We also had a short discussion about politics. I invited you to come down so we could probably delve a little bit more deeply into some of the core issues. First of all, Weston, tell our viewers a little bit about yourself. Talk a little bit about your upbringing. I know that you're homeschooled and so forth, and how you got interested in even entering the political field.
How really I got interested in this is just running a business and seeing needs. When you get involved in a business, Mr. Paul, you understand the importance of needing good roads, and you also see, as you pay taxes, where is all this money going? You know, what is our county, what is our state doing with our money? And then at that same time, I want to get kids my age involved in politics and in business, for they are the future of our county. Our older generation's dying off. That's just how it happens. As we get old, we have to be ready for the future. And I want to make our county ready for the future. I want to implement new things. I want to have a lot of energy and going after new business. And there's a lot of things we have to work on, and roads are one of them.
Yeah, to say that we were pleasantly surprised is certainly an understatement. Not many young adults, especially not yet out of high school, who have expressed an interest in politics or, dare I say, made that step to declare for public office. You are homeschooled. You are not done with your senior year yet. You will be by the time the election happens. Talk a little bit about your family and what led them to homeschool.
What led my family to homeschool? My mom was in public education for 10 years. She was a teacher, and when she had the chance to stay home, my dad had a very successful business. He now works for our state's government, and she said, you know what, if I can stay home with my kids every day and teach them, and sometimes our public school system can be real out there. I think we have a good school system, though, and it was really her and her mom theory of, I want to stay home with my kids and give them the best education that I can, and it's worked out really good for us.
Yeah, we visited you at your home and saw your business, your family agricultural area. You raise channel catfish. We're showing a little bit of drone footage of that right now. Just a beautiful part of the country. I was truly taken with all of the cypress knees as they sprouted up along the banks. You've had that piece of land for a long time, obviously.
Yes, sir. My great-grandfather homesteaded it. You know, and it's been in our family forever, and it's going to stay in our family forever. And we have a nice foundation there because my uncle lives there. My Uncle Timmy and my Uncle Jason live right beside us. My grandparents are right there. My family's right there. And we kind of have our family tree growing right through our roots of 100 years ago, you know?
Yeah, your family tree, both physically and philosophically, again, just really taken with the natural beauty of your area. We intend to spend more time up there. As a matter of fact, we want to arrange a visit soon again to revisit with you and to be able to shoot video and photo of some of the stuff that we missed, just because we are, as photographers, are very interested in what you have there. Politics can be very murky. Politics is something you either love or you hate on any given day, and sometimes that can change on a dime. Because if you don't get what you want, we blame the politicians. We don't always give credit to politicians when things work out in our favor, unfortunately, for politicians. But let's talk a little bit about the demographics. You are in Geneva County, Alabama. Interestingly, as we did a little research, we discovered that Geneva County is just about the same size as Washington County, in which we find ourselves here in Chipley. About 25,000 residents, about 600 square miles, roughly, give or take. And so probably facing some of those same issues which we face. You have mentioned the reasons why you want to run for office, why you want to bite off that chunk. Let's real briefly go over those things. You already mentioned businesses. I know that roads are a big thing in your estimation, as well as economic development. Let's talk about, in broad strokes, what you see as failings within what you have there now and what you can bring to the table.
As far as failings, when failings go, the only failing that I would really see is when a police department or a fire department needs something and the county can't meet that need. Like I've mentioned before in a previous interview, we have some really great department heads. And I want to always have that money there available for them. And it's not always going to happen, but our public service departments are so important, especially the road and bridge department. Our dispatchers, they need good technology. I want our public service departments to have what they need. And they do now, but they're always needing new stuff as technology changes, and we have to be there for them.
You've got an interesting political system, at least compared to us in Florida here. You have single-member districts. How many districts are there in Geneva County?
Yes, sir. There'd be 4 districts.
4 districts, each of those with its own county commissioner, and you are elected only by the constituents within your District 1, and you only serve those constituents in that District 1. Now, I would imagine from an umbrella point of view, technically you represent the entire county, but you've got people in District 1 who are they're going to be responsible for either voting for you or not, and those are the folks to whom you have to answer once you do get into office. Looking at just District 1 within Geneva County, what are your most poignant issues right now? What are your most major concerns, your most drastic needs?
Our most drastic needs are our dirt roads. We have a business on a dirt road, Gotcho Farms, right outside of Slocum, inside the Slocum city limits actually. And the dirt road she's on is so brutal. Miss Suzanne Gotcho, who owns the business, a very successful businesswoman. And when I look at our top priorities, the dirt roads have to be one of them because we have people that live on them, we have businesses on them, and more than that, we have school bus drivers that go on them, as I talked about before. And then for us to better that, economic development, a better concrete foundation for us to have taxes. That's going to be economic development. I'm not in the tax raising business. I'd rather us fill the place up with business before I would raise taxes because a lot of our seniors are on set income.
You have tossed your hat in the ring, and you have an opponent who is a one-term incumbent. You mentioned to me very graciously that you guys are friends, you've shaken hands, you've decided to run a clean race. In a small community, there's no win to running on anything other than a clean race because win or lose, you're going to be judged by your actions. And when you are in a political office, even if you win, had you done it in less than stellar fashion, you're going to pay that price. And as a small businessman, you're certainly aware of that. Talk a little bit about what you bring to the table compared to what is already in place.
Yes, sir. You know, the Bible talks about loving your neighbor, and you truly have to be involved with your community. And running a dirty race, and there's really no dirt to pick on my opponent. You know, he's a great guy, and we have to have a high respect for one another. But what I bring different to the table, being a single young guy, I have a lot of time for this job. I have time to devote to it. And anything you do is all about mastering your craft. And for you to master your craft, you have to put a lot of time towards it. You have to know things that are going on in the county. You have to have time to meet with business owners and landowners and our citizens who have needs on dirt roads. And the biggest thing that I have to bring to this job is time and being ready to answer the phone.
I would imagine that one of your biggest pools from which you can draw as far as potential supporters would be those first-time voters. Just like you, there are many people in your local high schools graduating sometime in May or early June, and your election is June 5th, at least your primary. What are you doing to reach out to those constituents?
They are I guess you could say, my group. They are my younger generation. They're all friends of mine, and I still meet some of them every single day. So I have to stay in tune with them, and I have to hear what they want our county's future to be. I have to hear their concerns, and I have to stay involved with what they're doing. And we have a great high school football team. We have baseball, we have softball, we have basketball, and those students can vote just like if they're 18 years old, just like I can. So I want to hear their concerns, and I want to be able to represent them. They are the future.
I'm glad you said that, because that's a good segue into my next question. What are their concerns at that age?
Oh, man,
What are you hearing?
It's limited, and you hear, some of them are really on top of politics, and then some of our generation really isn't, and some care, some don't. And the ones that live on dirt roads, some of the student athletes that live on dirt roads, they say, man, our dirt road's bad. It's real bad. I have to go down that thing every day to school. It's bumpy. I don't know how they're grading it. I think their concerns really line up with our seniors' concerns, with our regular citizens' concerns. As they get older, they start to see more of our county's need. They understand our government better, how our government works, our police departments, our fire departments. They're really smart, and they're in tune, and they're really bright. They're extremely bright. And that's why we have to be on top of what they need and what they want.
Basic services, law enforcement, fire service, EMS. One could arguably maybe add public works to that as well. But from the strictly emergency point of view, you mentioned that you've got a dedicated group of volunteers, that you've got good law enforcement people. One thing that you point out that we keep coming back to is that dispatching service from your E911 system.
Yes, sir.
Very important. You have a central dispatching service that dispatches all of those emergency services. And do you find right now that you're offering enough money to keep those people, or is it sort of a rotating door where you've got people that only stay long enough to get enough experience to go to someplace that pays more?
In Hartford, they have their own dispatcher there, which is fine. But we have a great E911 center, some great leadership there. And just like every other department, they have to have money to operate. They have to have high-speed internet there. Going in and meeting those dispatchers, and seeing how that facility runs is so incredible. They're so dedicated to their job. They love their job, and they're serving our people. And, at the end of the day, they have to have a good salary. And we always have to be looking to better our employees' salary. And we have to keep our good employees. We don't want them going anywhere unless they're retiring. We have a great solid foundation of people now, and we have to make that base even stronger. So I'm excited to bring what I know and, my business mindset into these positions,
All too often, we find sometimes a very small percentage, but we do have some people that get into those emergency services for the wrong reasons. They get hung up on the lights and siren, the adrenaline, and sometimes with unfavorable results. You could argue that those folks that work in the dispatch center, there's absolutely no opportunity for glory there. That's strictly nose to the grindstone, ear on the phone. And that is truly dedication. We have that experience here in our part of Florida, where have a hard time hanging on to those people because, for instance, the Florida Department of Transportation started the new Sunshine State system and hired all these people away for more dollars per hour. One interesting thing that you mentioned was high-speed internet access. In our world, we could not be in business literally. We would close our doors tonight if internet shut down. We would simply not be able to exist because everything that we do literally is online. What do you have right now in the way of available internet access? And I'm not even going to say high speed, of any internet access. And since you mentioned it, what can you do going forward to improve?
In my rural area, CenturyLink's one of the main providers. And one thing, if elected, and whether I get elected or not, I'm going to be doing business in this county. I need to help get a petition up for higher speed internet through CenturyLink. I'd love to have some fiber wiring ran from Dothan to our area. And that determines a lot of things. If you have college students that are at home, they have to be online reporting their classes and doing so many different things with instructors. Sometimes they might have to FaceTime an instructor. And if there's not enough megabytes per second there, they can't get what they need done. And if a business is wanting to come to our county and, they're going to be doing a lot of business online, shipping a lot of orders out, and, our high-speed internet right now is at 500 kilobytes or whatever that number is, that's going to be a big turnaway. So that's one thing I want to go to work on immediately.
What are these existing businesses doing now? I mean, certainly they get email, they are having to upload and download files. What are they doing now? Are they making do, or are they using some other services? What are they doing?
In the city of Slocum, the internet speed is a lot more significant. It's right in town, but we have a lot of rural areas in our county, and it always can be bettered, even in the city, and even especially out in the county. And our state representative of District House 87, Donnie Chasteen, is working very hard on that right now in the Senate, and so is Harry Ann Smith. So we have, our senators are working on it, our county representatives are working on it, and I want to be another one to the group. They're ready to go to work on that topic.
Your upcoming primary election is on June 5th. At this point, your opponent, who is also a Republican, as are you, we didn't mention that, 2 Republicans in the race. At this point, you've only got a day or so for people to qualify. After that point, the primary will be the general election, because whoever wins that wins the seat. I would imagine that that's going to be a sigh of relief, obviously, but you've still got some time to go. What are you doing right now to get your message out to the people?
To get my message out there right now, obviously campaigning on Saturdays is so important. I'm sorry, I don't do anything on Sunday but go to church. So Sunday's my day of rest. Monday through Friday, I like to get out in the afternoon when I know people are kind of getting home from work from about 4 to 5 and get out and talk. It's not all about putting a sign in someone's yard. Signs don't vote, Mr. Paul. It's about being involved in the community, being in our senior centers, being in our volunteer fire departments, being at the meetings, and understanding what's going on in your localized level and where you can come in and assist. Because the county commissioner is just one voice. But how can I assist? What kind of job can I get on? What do you want me doing? You've got to be real involved. You've got to have a lot of time to do those kind of things.
Your county, Geneva, does vote on a single-member district basis. So it's only the voters in District 1 who will be voting for either you or your opponent. How does that work once you get into office and you're one of those 4 sitting county commissioners? Right now, looking at the 4 who are there, how is the spirit of cooperation, partnership? Is there good teamwork? What's happening right now? And whatever the answer to that is, what will you do to improve going forward?
I think there's great teamwork. I think we have 4 great commissioners. But your district is who elects you. So you obviously are pushing and representing your district. And with that being said, you have to realize how you can work with the other commissioners so they can get some of what they want, and then you can get some of what you want. And everyone has to be reasonable and conservative. We're Republicans at the end of the day. We don't want any higher taxes. And I think we have to be looking out for our district at the end of the day. Slocum, Malvern, Fayette, everyone I talk to says it's looked the same for about the past 25 years. And we just have to keep changing the game plan until we get what we want. And I'm ready to go in there with a lot of energy. I say energy over and over and over, but energy outweighs experience.
You are predominantly a Republican county. Are all the sitting county commissioners at this point Republicans?
To my best of knowledge, yes, sir.
Yeah. You've also expressed to me other interests going forward. We're not going to talk about those today. You've got a lot on your plate, but they say if you want something done, find a busy person. And I believe in that totally. Somebody who's not busy typically doesn't want to be. The county commission position in Geneva County, much like any county that I'm aware, basically doesn't look at that as a full-time job. However, you expressed that you feel that it's going to take probably more time than what has been spent in the past to make the changes you want. Talk a little bit about what you're going to do on your first day in office.
My first day in office is going to be a great day. First off, my first rule of action is going out and looking at road and bridge and saying, okay, where's our biggest problems at right now? What dirt roads have been grading most recent? Going in and saying, all right, what do we need to be applying for grant-wise? Because I know there's some more technology you need, more equipment you need. Contacting our representative, finding out through our commission chain some other things that are going on. The first day is collecting all your data. That first week, that first 2 weeks, we're going to have to be collecting data on citizens, and I'm doing that now on people that have needs. So I'm really getting ahead of the game on that. But once you have the data, you can start making the decisions. And like I said, you are one voice, but you have to have the data, and the data collecting and knowing the accurate information and the needs are the starting process of everything.
You have impressed us to date. Your unabashed profession of your spirituality, your thoughts going forward, your well thought out and look at your existing infrastructure and your needs in your county. All of that says great things about not just you, but your folks and your grandfather. I know that you're in business with your grandfather. Let's talk for just a moment about that relationship and what you've learned from him in that agricultural setting.
You know, my grandfather, his dad was a farmer. My great-grandfather was a farmer at night, and he worked a public job too. And, you know, you get to hear the stories about the old days where old roads used to be at and how things worked and where there was a store at one time that now is a house. And our county's really, it has changed a lot in 100 years. But the past 20 years, we've had some good things come in, but we're not improving like other counties are. And we've got to get on the ball. I don't want us to miss the train. I've enjoyed having a great business relationship with my grandfather. It's changed the game for my personality, and he's put a lot of knowledge in my head, more knowledge than I could probably learn in a college when it comes to running a business and running numbers and running your numbers into your overhead and scaling a business and coming out and meeting insurance requirements. I'm going to take the same energy level I had to learn that into the county commission. I've got a lot to learn about this job. I have a lot that I don't know now, but every day I'm learning. Every day I'm studying. I'm learning the process, and I'm ready to be there for the people come June the 5th.
The day that you quit saying that you don't know it all is the day probably that you're going to start having problems. I appreciate that about you. Thanks so much for taking the time today, for taking the trip down here to Chipley. We are going to visit with you often along the campaign trail. Best of luck going forward. I know that if you stick to your guns and you profess those business acumen, or that business acumen that you already have, along with your cognizant look at what needs are versus what abilities are, it will bear fruit for you. So best of luck going forward, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you so much.
Our guest today is Weston Spivey, currently running for District 1 County Commissioner in Geneva County, Alabama. Another in our series of Meet the Candidates. Hopefully in this process, you're going to learn a little bit more about Weston. We'll have more candidates from that same area as our guests over time. We appreciate your viewership, just our opportunity to help enlighten you. We tell you to vote, but it's very important to vote from an educated stance. Just voting for the sake of voting means nothing. Do your homework, find out for whom you're voting and for what reasons, and I think that you will make progress every single day as we go forward. We'll be right back.